Hello, Tar Heel Nation. We are back with another episode of UNC Hoops Talk. I'm excited to be back here. New year. Obviously, we covered that on the last podcast. Not exactly the week that we wanted the Tar Heels to have. Not exactly the week I predicted, or according to my Twitter poll, a lot of you would have predicted. But it is what it is. The Tar Heels are number 20, I think, in the AP poll. 2-2 in the ACC with a couple of winnable games, or maybe some should-win games coming up. So we're on track. We're going to be okay. We're going to survive. Don't jump off the bandwagon. Don't fire Roy. Any of that. But welcome in. Of course, we're going to recap the three games this past week. It was the Florida State, Virginia, and Boston College games. I'm going to look forward to the next couple of weeks because a lot of next week I'm going to be out, and hopefully we'll be able to still watch some games or at least catch up on games, but probably not going to be able to podcast next week. So we're looking at the next 2 weeks of games coming up. But thank you for coming in, joining the conversation, being a part of UNC Hoops Talk podcast, and uniting Tar Heel Nation. That's kind of my mission and my goal through this is just to get to know you guys better. Joining the conversation of UNC hoops and Tar Heel basketball and all that encompasses. So let's jump in. Not a lot of Tar Heel news this week. We still got Seventh Woods out, still no timetable, no update really, anything like that. I don't know that I've mentioned this on the podcast, but they did call up a JV player up to the varsity roster, and it was kind of strange timing. And I mentioned to somebody, or they asked, like, why would you do this? And like, really the only thing that kind of came to my mind why we would do this, obviously because there's a spot, but if there was a spot, wasn't there before? Why didn't you do it before? I don't know. I'm sure numbers in practice has something to do with it, but I think those JV players could come to practice if you just asked them, hey, we need you for practice for a couple weeks or whatever, without putting them on the roster. Obviously that's a reward they get, kind of for being there, but the only thing I can think of is if Seventh Woods isn't going to come back this year, if they kind of know his injury's going to be lagging to where he's not really going to be able to come back or practice, this year, and they need that body, and like we'll give him the roster spot. That hasn't been announced, so I don't know. I'm a little perplexed by that. I don't exactly know what's up with that, but it is a little curious now that it's been going and still. I think last week we had an update that he was out of his boot and off crutches. So he should be making a return, you would think. But yeah, I don't know. If anybody else has any ideas why at that point we would call someone up from the JV to be on the varsity roster, please let me know at AllTarHeelDan on Twitter, UNCHoopsTalk@gmail.com, Instagram, wherever you're at, message me, kind of give me your ideas. I would love to have different answers, or at least possibilities. So yeah, there's that. That's about all the news we have. We did have a roster change, but we'll get to that as we get to the game to where it happened. Again, if you're a big enough Tar Heel fan, which if you're listening to this, you probably are, then you know about that already. But we will discuss it, of course, along with everything else pertinent to the Tar Heels. So we're going to jump back into last week, Wednesday, when we played Florida State at Tallahassee. Good game, fairly entertaining. We did not play well. Didn't shoot the ball from three, especially well. Joel Berry was 4 for 8. Kenny Williams was 4 for 11. Luke May was 2 for 4. And Cam Johnson was 1 for 3. That's about it. We were 38% as a team for the game from three, 40% overall from the field. I want to see the first half score. Yeah, we were down 11. Really wasn't a very good first half, 51-40. Obviously giving up 51 points and a half. Not good defense. Again, we weren't shooting well. We didn't play well the first half. Second half, Joel Berry came back. I believe of his 28 points, 21 of them were in the second half. Like I said, 4 for 8 from three. He was 10 for 23 overall. 28 points, a couple rebounds. Other than that, we had Kenny Williams had 18. Again, 4 threes for him. 7 rebounds for Kenny as well, so that was good. 3 assists. And then Luke May had 14 points, 6 rebounds. Both hurt his averages. 14 points isn't bad for him. 6 rebounds, we probably need a little bit more for him than that. And then Theo Pinson, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists before he fouled out, a couple of steals as well. Definitely wasn't his best game. And that's, I mean, other than that, we got Cam Johnson with 7 points, 8 rebounds off the bench, but also had 6 turnovers. And then Sterling Manley, 6 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. And you say, well, I didn't mention Garrison Brooks, 0 points, did give us 6 rebounds in his 15 minutes. But from that center position, Sterling and Garrison, when we weren't playing small, Luke plays that center a little bit, but we got 6 points and 11 rebounds in 30 minutes. And that's kind of the story for these first 2 games, really, is we need inside play. We got to get something from the inside or from our big guys. They can't just be that big of a liability, especially offensively. If they were playing good defense, rebounding, and then just kind of gave us putbacks, I think we'd be okay with it. But at this point, we're hardly even getting putbacks. Not good enough defense, not good enough at the rebounding position, at least in these 2. We've seen sparks from, especially Sterling Manley. There's been a big call of people that saying Sterling should be starting over Garrison Brooks, which comes down to his conditioning. Roy says it's not going to happen. But one thing is we can't rely on the 3. It's almost like we were kind of trying to trade 3s with them. We were both teams 11 for 29 from 3-point line or 3-point land. And we actually shot 20 more shots than them in this game. We were 31 for 77 overall. They were 28-57. Obviously, their percentage a lot better, but with those extra shots, which comes from offensive rebounds, you expect to make up that difference and win. We out-rebounded them just 41-37. So yeah, not a big discrepancy there, but 17-8 on the offensive rebounds. And I think this is the game we had 12 off those 17 offensive rebounds. We only had 12 second chance points, which just isn't good enough. So. Look here, 18 assists for us. We had 7 turnovers, which is good, but it wasn't really a turnover thing. It was our shooting, and then we didn't stop them. We didn't play defense. Trying to look at, we came back in the second half. Joel Berry, 28 points when we needed 30. He missed the go-ahead. You say layup. It wasn't just like an easy layup he missed, but little runner. There was talk about should he have kicked it out to Cam Johnson in the corner for the 3 because Cam's guy was dropping in to help. And to me, that's a non-factor. That's not a talking point. He just came off the Wake Forest game, which we shouldn't have needed a game winner to beat Wake Forest, but he hit that over a shot blocker. Driving into the lane. Joel Berry is the most outstanding player of the Final Four. You guys know all this. He's our senior leader, senior point guard, All-American, all this stuff. And he had 28 points in this game where Cam Johnson is 1 for 3 from the 3-point line, 7 points, has 6 assists. But I think I called those turnovers earlier. But anyway, Joel Berry deserves to be able to take that shot, and you're not going to make them all. Whatever. He needed 30. A lot of talking after this game and then the Virginia game as well. Should Theo be starting? Should he be playing as much? But there's enough stats out there. Obviously, he should be playing. He's a playmaker, all that stuff. There's enough, his plus minus is so much greater ours as a team is so much greater when he's on the court as opposed to when he's off of it, that kind of stuff. To me, what happened in this game, Virginia game, is we relied too much on the 3-point line. We cannot get stuck. Obviously, our perimeter is better this year. Even our big guy Luke is almost better on the perimeter than he is, posting up against taller, more athletic guys. But we can't just settle for jumpers. That's how Duke loses early in the second, in the second round of the NCAA tournament or whatever. You can have some great performances, but then on any given night, you're screwed. To put it bluntly, I guess. Another big talking point, and I guess probably the last one here for this game, was the whole Teddy Valentine, Joel Berry incident, where Joel Berry clearly got held. breaking out on a fast break, or secondary break, whatever you want to call it. We're trying to push the ball. He gets held. He can't catch up to the ball and get the ball. It goes out of bounds. They don't call a foul, so it goes out of bounds. Joel Berry, he was a little bit frustrated. He slams the ball kind of between his hands when he picks it up. But he goes over to Teddy Valentine just to get an explanation, to tell him, hey, you missed me being held, kind of whatever. And Teddy wasn't having anything of it. TV Teddy turns his back to him and will not look at him, will not talk to him. To me, it reminded me of my 3-year-old. When he gets mad, he just kind of goes, sits in the corner and pouts, or turns away from me, and whatever. For a grown man to do that to a college athlete, and not just any. Joel Berry doesn't have a reputation of getting on refs or being outspoken, anything like that, like outlandish. He's again the most outstanding player of the Final Four. He's a senior. He's a point guard. He's a captain. He has the right for an explanation there, and Teddy just messed it up. And of course, it kind of went national. Easy for me to say, Jay Billis tweeting about it, and then of course we get the whole interview with The Athletic and Seth Davis that he's thinking about retiring over this. He was taken off of 2 Big Ten games over the weekend over this, and he decided not to do a Georgia Tech game. Kind of took the weekend off. Again, it reminds me of a 3-year-old pouting is what it kind of sounds like. And it's like, oh, the attention is me, oh, poor me. If he comes out and says like, hey, I missed the call, it looks bad, I wish I wouldn't have done it, boom, we move on. Joel Berry set the ball down, and Roy Williams actually saw it. He said in the huddle, he said, hey, Joel, go apologize to Teddy Valentine. It's not like Joel pouted to his coach, like, coach, did you see what he did to me? Turned his back, he disrespected me, all that. He had the right to do that because that's what happened. He didn't. He just, okay, he did. When he talked to Teddy, and Teddy actually said, like, oh, well, the TV didn't show me and him talking. Well, it sounds like he was talking to you because his coach instructed him to go talk to you and apologize. You talked to him because he was apologizing. We have not heard anything about Teddy TV apologizing because he did something wrong. Like, he just thinks he's perfect or something. I don't know. It's a little annoying. Chance for me to get that off my chest. It's, it's whatever. We're going to move on. Joel Berry's not going to make a big hissy fit over it. Roy Williams didn't make it big. He said it looked bad. It's whatever. We'll move on. The only person kind of dwelling on it more than it needs to be dwelled on is Teddy. So yeah, whatever. It is what it is. We'll let Teddy do what he does, and hopefully we don't see him the rest of the season. And probably a good idea that we don't. But again, we don't have any say in that. So that's the Florida State game, 81-80 loss. Rough, but it's exactly what Vegas and people predicted. We were a 1-point underdog in that game. It's on the road in the ACC. We didn't shoot great. We didn't play well. It's what happens. Unfortunately, we had to follow that one up with going to Virginia on Saturday. Always a tough place for us. We went last year and shot the ball horribly and really got killed. I don't remember. We set a low for how many points scored by Roy Williams' team. I don't remember what it was, but we didn't do a whole lot better this time, if you missed it. But scored 49 points to their, 61 points. So, you look at it, it's a 12-point loss. If this was, a good team, if we even Duke, God forbid we lose to Duke, but, by double figures, it's 12 points. 3 baskets, and it's really close game. But against Virginia, that 12 points just seems that much bigger. Again, did not shoot the ball well in this one. I guess rounding up, it's 30% from the field. That's overall. That's all of our shots, 16 for 54. 3-point line, we were 8 for 23, which is about 35%. And just not shooting the ball well. Joel led us again, 17 points, 3 for 8 from the 3-point line, 7 for 17 overall. Kenny Williams, the only other person in double figures. Of course, when you only score 49 points, not many people are going to be in double figures. 11 points, shot 3 for 6 for the 3-point line, 4 for 9 overall. Joel did add 8 rebounds, which is good. Theo Pinson struggled mightily again. His only 4 points came from the free throw line. He was 0 for 3 shooting overall. and only 2 rebounds, 1 assist. So this coming from a guy that we've talked about could get a double-double at some point. 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. That's, and 2 steals, I guess, isn't more steals than assists for Theo is not kind of what we've come to expect from him. Luke May shot 2 for 10 overall, 6 points, 8 rebounds. Not what we've come to expect from him this year. And then, putting Garrison Brooks and Sterling Manley together again for that kind of starting or center position stats. We got from Garrison 2 points, 2 rebounds. From Sterling Manley, we got 4.7 rebounds. So that's 6 points and 9 rebounds in just about 20 minutes, 19 minutes. So obviously went to the small lineup more in this game. But even that, Cam Johnson off the bench, 23 minutes, gave us 5 points, 3 rebounds. And that's it. Shot 2 for 8 overall, 1 for 5 from the 3-point line. And that's all of our scoring. We had our starters there, and then Cam Johnson 5, Sterling Manley 4. I didn't even mention, but we can talk about kind of the rest of our bench here in the Florida State game. We had Cam Johnson off the bench 25 minutes, Sterling 15 minutes, but other than that, it's Playtech with 8 minutes, Jalik with 5 minutes, B-Rob with 2 minutes, Brandon Huffman with 2 minutes. So obviously they're not producing enough to really have confidence in them. In the Virginia game, it was B-Rob with 7 minutes, Jalik with 8 minutes, and Playtech with 3 minutes, and then a bunch of guys with 1 minute because Roy put him at the end there with just garbage time. So, Virginia, obviously we did not shoot well. It's their defense. It's the environment. It's a lot of stuff. But in both of these games, really, we didn't have the energy. We didn't have the passion. Whatever it is, I don't know. And it's weird because then we come back with this big, huge Boston College win, and everybody's talking about, well, we had the passion, we had the energy. To me, it's like, how do you not have the energy in these big games? We know Virginia is going to be a tough game, and they kind of take the air out of the ball by the offense they play and how well they play defense. But I mean, that's when you need to produce it yourselves more on the road in a place like that. And even Florida State, like we made a comeback. We were down. I don't know what the biggest deficit was for us. I think it says here the biggest leads. It says 8 lead changes and 5 ties. I don't know what it says here. Largest lead, Florida State led by 13. So it wasn't a huge comeback, but I mean, we make a run. We're coming back in someone else's environment. Like Joel's playing great, knocking down shots and doing everything. Those other guys got to pick it up, defensively, have that energy and just get after it. And same with Virginia. Like they hit you in the gut, come back and take it to them. Like you got to have that strength. We can't just do it against the Boston College of the ACC, or we're going to be stuck in the middle of the conference. So it kind of frustrates me a little bit that they say that, like, oh, we didn't have the energy in those games, and then we do. Like, to me, when you're winning by 30, like, how do you have a lot of energy to passion to play that game? Like, yeah, sure, it's easy and whatever, but they're not as good. To me, when you're competitive, when we talk about these guys as competitors and high level and stuff, like I would rather play a really entertaining, like fun, close, hard-nailed game and lose. Well, obviously, again, it's college basketball. We're in it to win it, and everybody is. But like as a fan, even like I don't know, even playing, like it's more fun when the game is competitive. It's close. It's and when you pull out on top, you're like, hey, I was better than that person today, or that team, or whatever. Whereas you play someone like Boston College and we just run them off the court, and it's, I mean, yeah, sure, those are fun to get your stats up and whatever. But I don't know. To me, that the passion, the energy should come in those close games. Like that's so much fun to play in those environments where the crowd's so into it because the game, like everybody's on the edge of their seats and all that stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of cliches I can put in there. I don't want to say every cliche there is, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. Like that's when we need the energy, and it should be easier to produce that energy. I get that they're doing schoolwork and they're traveling, and I was a college athlete as well, not at this level, but I get there's a lot of outside of stuff that we have no idea what's going on. But like lose yourself in the game for 2 hours and and play with some passion, no matter who it is or what the score is. But especially those tough teams, like, take that challenge, step up to it. So my 2 cents there. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to Boston College. This is the game where we had the lineup change. Apparently Roy went into practice, said, we've lost 2 games in a row, I'm changing it up. We went with, and I've chosen not to say the death lineup, but we went to the small lineup where Luke plays the 5, and then we have Cam, Kenny, and Theo on the wings, with Joel obviously at the point. We came out right from the beginning, had an offense. Apparently Roy had talked to them like, hey, we're not playing this lineup if you guys can't rebound, and all that. So they came out, first possession, we have an offensive rebound, put back dunk for Cam Johnson, kind of set the tone. To me, kind of the story is we out-rebound them 58-23. We had 23 offensive rebounds. They had 23 rebounds total. So yeah, that obviously, makes a big difference in a game like this. Yeah, we kind of run them off the court. I believe it was 96-66, yes, for a 30-point win. We missed Biscuits by 4 points, whatever. Luke May was sensational, 32 points, 18 rebounds, and didn't just get those 32 points by jacking he did jack everything up, but it also went in. He was 13 for 20 shooting, 4-5 from the 3-point line, hit both his free throws, 3 offensive rebounds. He did have 3 turnovers, I guess you'd say. He was the only person with more than 1 turnover. Yeah, you can't say much about that with the rest of his stat line. But really the question then becomes, at least for me, is when are we going to see him do this against a more athletic, taller, tougher competition? Because we've seen Michigan State, where matched up with him well. Even Virginia, they were a little bit taller. They were blocking his shots. He did not shoot well. Florida State is a tall, athletic team. He did not play or shoot well. Let's see, Florida State, since these are in front of me, he was 6 for 14. Against Virginia, that was the one he was, 2 for 10. So yeah, we saw, and Wofford, it wasn't like they matched up. He just, to me, that's the one where it's, okay, it's a bad game. And I don't think he has to get 20 and 10 for it to be a Luke May game. I think if we could get, 13 to 16 points out of Luke and get, probably do need close to 10 or more than 10 rebounds from him. But, we don't need the 20 points. We need that, 13 to 16 range. And then other guys, can fill in for sure. Yeah, really everybody played well. We talked about our shooting woes in this game. Overall, we shot right at 50%, 33% from the 3-point line. So we didn't shoot great from 3 besides Luke. And even had one from Steph Curry range where he was way the heck out there, shot it. And, when he even said afterwards, like, I knew if that one wasn't going in, I was coming out, that kind of thing. But Cam Johnson, in his first start for the Tar Heels, 14 points, 11 rebounds. So he did his job on the boards, 6 of those offensive. He had 5 assists to no turnovers as well. Shot 5 for 10, is 0 for 3 from 3-point line. So maybe a more concerted effort to get to the basket for Cam there. Joel Berry, 13 points. He did not shoot well. He's 4 for 13, 3 for 8 from the 3-point line. 3 assists. Theo Pinson rebounded. Well, I say that literally, but also he just played better again. 8 points, 8 rebounds. Half of his were offensive. 5 assists for Theo as well. And then Kenny Williams, 10 points on 4 for 11 shooting, 2 for 8 from 3. So he didn't shoot the ball great. 3 assists for him. The biggest thing for me, you look at those wings and guards, whatever you want to call them. If you take Joel, Cam, and Theo, they had 13 assists to 0 turnovers. You add in Kenny, and it's 16 assists to 1 turnover. So big time difference there. Coming off the bench now, of course, we lose Cam scoring coming off the bench, but Sterling Manley in his 11 minutes got 9 points, 5 rebounds. Where's Garrison Brooks? Got 4 points, 4 rebounds. So again, he's got to pick it up. That's 16 minutes for him. And I know I get like their defense doesn't necessarily make the stat sheet, but we need it from them. We need putbacks, we need rebounds, that kind of stuff. So between those two guys and their 27 minutes It's what, man, try to do math on the air. It's 13 points and 9 rebounds. So again, if we could get kind of out of them what we get out of Luke, if Luke dropped down to that 13 to 16 point range in points, 13 to 16 and about 10 rebounds out of them. I guess they got close in this game to that. But yeah, besides those guys, B-Rob gave us 2, Jalik gave us 2, and then Shea Rush gave us 2 in garbage minutes to finish up the game. But looking at minutes again, Garrison off the bench, 16. B-Rob gave us 4. Man, it seemed like he played more than that. Sterling Manley, 11. Jalik, 10. And then Playtech 2, and then everybody else with 1 that got in at the end of the game. But not a lot to say here. I mean, obviously it's a combination of us coming back home. We just lost 2 games. So they knew we kind of needed to pick it up. It is Boston College. I know they beat Duke. They did go to Virginia and only lost by 1. But again, it's probably that Virginia isn't as hyped either for Boston College as they are for North Carolina, the defending national champions. So yeah, we shot the ball well, or at least aggressively, taking to the hole. And I know I've tweeted out before too, like we got to play inside out, and that's why we got to develop our inside. But it doesn't even mean it just has to be Garrison Brooks and Sterling Manley and Brandon Robinson, even Luke May getting into the post. We have to, I think I've said this before, we have to drive and kick. We have to get into the lane and make plays happen. And that's still, we can play inside out without it just being big guys. And I think that's something we need to do better of. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up Boston College. So transitioning into what's coming up, and I said, no podcast next week. So we got a couple weeks of games here. We got Notre Dame coming up. They are still ranked, but they just lost Bonzie Colson for 8 weeks. And we actually play them both times before that 8 weeks is up. So we'll have to see if he's back for that next game. That's February 12th. I believe the end of February would have been technically 8 weeks for him. So it'll be tough for him to be back for that second game. We'll probably play them both times without Bonzie Colson. Of course, right after they lost Bonzie, they went to Syracuse and got a win on the road. But even Coach Smith used to talk about, when you lose somebody big, you got kind of a lot of energy. Everybody's like, I got to step up, and you usually get kind of one unexpected win there. So I do expect us to go into Notre Dame and win. Mike Bray is pretty brilliant at using his guys in the right spots. We got to be careful of Matt Farrell going off from 3. They got a couple other guys that can knock down threes. We can't let people go crazy. But this game is on Saturday, January 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. So yeah, it is a top 25 team right now. And I guess, those rankings won't change before we play them. So we'll play a top 25 team, hopefully get a win on the road. Of course, that'll be our first ACC road win if we do that. So it'll be another point of emphasis there. And then, I don't know, maybe this isn't updated. I don't have the rankings in front of me. So maybe they dropped out. I don't know if this is updated because I believe Clemson is ranked. At least I'm almost sure of it, and doesn't have that on here. So this must not be updated. But then we come back Tuesday, January 16th, and play Clemson at home. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern tip, and it says the Raleigh Sports Network. So hopefully I can find that somewhere. It was a little bit difficult to find Boston College. I think it was Watch ESPN app or the ACC Extra Network, whatever it is, that finally got to watch it on. But hopefully this one's on TV because I think I'm going to be gone Tuesday night, and I'd like to DVR that to be able to watch that one. But of course, the streak is on the line. This one makes me nervous. I know it's at home, but our players know about the streak. Clemson's never won in the Dean Smith Center, so they're a good club this year. Hopefully our guys don't feel the pressure, and I don't know. I think it helps being in the small lineup against Notre Dame. Them losing Bonzie Colson, one of their big guys, I think our small lineup will kind of match up better with them in that sense. Clemson, I don't know about that as much. I haven't seen them play, but I know they're playing really well, and obviously the streak being on the line, that one makes me nervous at home. Obviously we can win. I think we can win any game on our schedule, but whether we can pull that one off or not, we will have to see. I'm not going to predict anything there. And then we have Georgia Tech at home the next Saturday, January 20th. It says ESPN2 or ESPN, and that's to be at 2 p.m. Eastern tip in Chapel Hill against Georgia Tech. Again, it's at home. It's Georgia Tech. That one should be a win. And then the following Monday, we go to Virginia Tech, to Blacksburg, Virginia, play Virginia Tech at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN on that Monday, January 22nd. They're a good club. Haven't heard a lot about them since they went to Rupp and lost, kind of a winnable game against Kentucky, and they lost it. So I don't know how they're playing lately. I know they were playing well early in the season. That'll be a tough one there at their place. But if we can go 2-2, it's okay, I guess. We should probably go at least 3-0 and definitely have a shot at 4-0. I'm going to say we lose either Clemson or Virginia Tech. I don't think we'll lose both. I think we're going to lose one of those. So I'm going to predict 3-1. I'm going to do another Twitter poll with you guys. So go to my Twitter at AllTarHeelDan and vote what you think, whether we go 4-0, 3-1, 2-2. I think I can only put 4 of them, or 1-4, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to predict 3-1. Obviously, I'll cheer for 4-0, and we'll get all up in that. But I think this podcast has gotten kind of long, and I don't want to ramble on here at the end. So we're going to, I think I got all that. Oh, quick, before I do that, I did put out, since I'm streaming this live on YouTube, that I'd get to any questions or comments at the end here. So we're going to quickly do this. Grant Bowden, who's been watching and putting up questions stuff pretty regularly here on YouTube, so thank you, Grant, for that, says, hey, Dan, any chance Seventh Woods is sitting out because of a shattered confidence? I guess it's a possibility. That is another possibility. That's what I asked for, but I don't think he would not suit up for that. I think if that was the case, because from what I understand, he's not practicing or anything. So if it's just shattered confidence, he could be practicing to try to get that confidence up and getting some garbage minutes, or a couple minutes here and there to try to up his confidence. I'm pretty sure it's an injury right now, so I don't think that's I don't think that's the case. But again, I have no inside information on that. So, and then Grant also says, it's hard not to think about how good this team would be if Tony Bradley were here. Obviously, that's the case, and he's more likely would have returned than Justin Jackson. But you think if we had both those guys, how crazy it would be. We maybe wouldn't have Cam Johnson. Yeah. And then he also says he's confident in the 3 bigs. I'm confident that eventually they'll be good and they'll be North Carolina level, but I wouldn't say I'm confident in them right now. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it is crazy to think if we had Tony Bradley down there with Luke May, what he would be putting up as far as blocks, as far as rebounds, points. Remember how good he was at offensive rebounding last year. And then Luke stretching the floor, giving him more space, and Joel driving and dishing. He wouldn't always have to be shooting. It seems like every time we drive now, we dish off to a big guy, like they don't catch it, it's fumbled, it's a turnover kind of stuff. But and then Carl says, putting Cam Johnson in the starting lineup, in his opinion, makes us the most talented team in the country. I don't think I'd go that far. I think we have a lot more talent and experience than most teams in the country. And I know a lot of Tar Heel fans don't want to hear this, but I do think Duke has the most talented starting lineup. I know that can be different than most talented team. I think we're probably up there as far as talent mixed with experience, especially with Cam in there. But I've said before, starting doesn't matter. It's who gets the minutes, but I guess it matters how we start. And we started that Boston College game really well with Cam in there, as opposed to with one of those with Garrison, who's the only other person that started. But yeah, thanks Grant and Carl for those questions. Unfortunately, yeah, like I said, no podcast next week. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Nonetheless, though, until next time, go Heels.